Hello, California history scholars. We're at the end of our crisis time here. If we had a good time, that Kevin Starr chapter I had you read is good stuff. It covers a lot of material, sort of a hodgepodge of things. One of the things about California history, we want to emphasize the type of distinctive aspects of California, the civil rights, color issues, different things going on. There's a lot to talk about, but what is most important is that we have a good solid knowledge of Cesar Chavez and his importance. And I want to talk with you about that. California, with Earl Warren, we talked about Earl Warren, and the Earl Warren Court, as Supreme Court Chief Justice, created a lot of the civil rights developments of the late 20th century. And Cesar Chavez comes in the middle of this, and he often gets thrown in with a bunch of other people. And I want to emphasize today just why Cesar Chavez is such I think, a very unique figure in California history and the United States history and in world history, and may actually, like John Muir, just be someone who continually becomes more and more important, as opposed to someone who just sort of falls into a mix of all sorts of civil rights leaders from the 60s and such. First of all is to remember, and it's his name, I grew up always hearing his name as Cesar Chavez, but it is apparently Cesar Chavez, okay? So Cesar Chavez Day, March 31st, it celebrates his birthday. It serves as a tribute to his commitment to social justice and respect for human dignity. This is what we want to talk about more, is we have to think about that as big. He's often described as a union labor leader, concerned with narrow issues like simply Chicano rights or something like that. He is all of that, but much more. And so that's what we're doing. California Senate bill to celebrate the life and work of Cesar Chavez, education code, educators through education community. This is our job as teachers, is to recognize that there's this person. It's one of the great things about history. There's this person who really is an amazing figure who transforms and solidifies and gives vision to things that hadn't been before. And so we want to do that with Cesar Chavez today, all right? One of the things about the Cesar Chavez, it's a family movement, man. He's got his whole family involved. Helen is here, and he was dead by this time, and Helen receives the Presidential Medal of Freedom, but it's a family affair, and Cesar Chavez and Helen does a lot. She really supports them, makes it work. It's like I can't get it. It's just a family affair. Always look for the family. This is President Obama surrounded by the family. This is the proclamation designating Cesar Chavez Day. Helen is dead by this time. We're going to talk about Dolores Huerta in a bit, and she is married to Richard. This is Richard Chavez, the brother. Pretty sure it's these two here, and then there's a bunch of kids and everything else. So it's a story of California, and I want to just going to run through some things here. You start off in Yuma. He's born down here in Yuma on the Colorado River. He's actually born in Arizona, so he's not ours in that sense, but Yuma's right on the border there. And then the family had a little, I think it was like a little market store, a little something, but it went under in the Depression. And so they became laborers, farm laborers, the family. And they came up to Camarillo and did a lot of here for a while. Cesar Chavez eventually joins the Navy. After coming to the Navy, he lives in San Jose, which is up here. And this is where we'll talk about some things really get solidified in his political life in San Jose. Then in most of his career, he's living in Delano, which is along down in here. And it's Looks like Delano, but it's California. They call it Delano, California. And then he spends, when I was a kid, actually, he was in the Salinas Valley here. I was in Salinas, and a lot of Cesar Chavez stuff there in Salinas, where he worked with the migrant laborers. Not migrant laborers so much as the farm laborers, because migrant can get us a little confused here. But we'll talk about that in a second. But after this, they moved from Delano up into the Tehachapis up in here to create a La Paz, Our Lady of La Paz place, and that's eventually where he is buried. This is La Paz, the Cesar Chavez National Monument here at Our Lady of Queen of Peace. And this is the site of where Chavez had his ending of his career. So let me just run through a couple things here, and we'll just emphasize the breadth of what he does. First of all, is he was in San Jose sort of targeted by this guy Fred Ross, very interesting guy, Fred Ross, to become a community organizer. Now this term community organizer, this is what Obama was, you know, community organizer. And Saul Alinsky sort of developed a whole thing about community organizing, and it became very influential in American history. Hillary Clinton, I think, wrote her dissertation in her dissertation something. She wrote on Saul Alinsky, so that heavily sort of tied to this. And this ideas of, you see, Saul Alinsky wrote this book, Rules for Radicals. It's to radicalize America through work in the community, sort of grassroots organization, okay? So, yes, Cesar Chavez has this tradition. It's a political tradition. It's a very distinct sort of social civil rights tradition. He breaks with the community organizers and takes up the idea of creating a union for the farm workers, because they're very much abused. He does this in the Central Valley, primarily with grapes, and he does this with Dolores Huerta. And Dolores Huerta is not, she's born in 1930, so she is now 90 years old, and you know, you'll probably hear of her death soon, hopefully not too soon, but the thing is that look for her. Dolores Huerta getting a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Amazing person who's side by side with Cesar Chavez. But Huerta and Fred Ross are much more small thinkers. They're more narrow thinkers. They're thinkers about civil rights and justice and all that stuff, the Earl Warren Court, yeah, and that's good, that's great, and that's what it does. And so they, you know, the idea of the strike, huelga, you know, the idea of a strike, that they're gonna grab farm worker power. But Cesar Chavez never saw this as something so small as just getting a farm worker union together. He was right from the start working with Filipinos. He's not that narrowly racially oriented. And then most important is, like in a picture like this, what you see is, here's the march to Sacramento, which was this great march. There's a priest in the front, and that's Our Lady of Guadalupe. Our Lady of Guadalupe is a Catholic. Our Lady of Guadalupe is you know, it's the biggest. This is the patron saint of Mexico. This is the patron saint of the Americas as a whole. There's a Catholic vision that is huge within this. Now, he also, you know, like Martin Luther King, pulls off of Gandhi, and you get an emphasis on nonviolence, which is what raises Martin Luther King's not simply a blacks' right movement. He's got a vision for a better world, a cultural transformation, a nonviolence. It's, you know, I have a dream type of thing. And so definitely both of them have a dream that is bigger than simply something narrow like specific public policy issues. The boycott is what how the strike really gonna, we're gonna develop this boycott, and that's where the like Dolores Huerta and the union becomes very, very good at a nationwide boycott of grapes, and later on it's the certain lettuce growers and stuff like that. But then where Cesar Chavez goes above and beyond is he picks up on what Gandhi did, and also what is this Catholic tradition of fasting and the suffering, the personal suffering for a cause. And so the cause becomes focused on an individual. And it's a strange thing, the idea of a hunger strike and fasting, but it does prove to be tremendously powerful. And so Cesar Chavez, he does a number of fasts throughout his career, but like he really, this is one of the reasons he dies relatively young, is he has really racked his body with this fasting. And it's you just, as he thinks about it, and is, it's a Catholic thing. This is his mother over here. I think her name's Juanita. She, deep Catholic piety. This is Helen here, his wife. And here again, it's this family Catholic vision, which the Catholic Church was really promoting under what's often called Catholic social thought. Dorothy Day is a sort of large thinker at the same time who comes in with Chavez, and they work together. Chavez he goes on, to do amazing things. Like in the lettuce fields in Salinas, the hoes where it was stoop labor, where you had to, and he was asking just for longer hoe handles and for bathrooms in the fields and stuff. And in general, farm workers are in California better off now because of that union. Also with this is that he wanted to sort of like, one of the key things, gets at this migrant labor thing, is he did not want his union to be supporting the Bracero program when it got started out. The Bracero program was a type of guest workers from Mexico coming up to work in California and then going back to Mexico. He is not in favor of Mexican migrant labor. He is in favor of Mexican Americans and their culture, and being honored, and being treated justly, and being respected. And so this is, you should not think of Cesar Chavez as a type of border immigration person like a lot of the issues are today and have later moved in California. This is a person who's really sort of sees a larger picture of Mexican, Latino, Americas, the American people, and especially as a type of religious whole, can't really define it. Here's another difference between Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez. Martin Luther King, he has his PhD. He goes to Boston College, and he's just, Boston University, I think, for his PhD, not Boston College. But Cesar Chavez, basically has a junior high education, and this deep love of learning and reading and following, Gandhi, and Cesar Chavez just throws himself into this at a level which, Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez, both great figures, but there's a quality to the Cesar Chavez which is I think very inspiring, more so than Martin Luther King. And because he is this sort of grand vision, I like this picture on the stamp. And in that way, I think it's good and appropriate in our class. You see, our class has been largely about that Spanish vision, Spanish Catholic vision that came as the missionaries to California. And then this is Benito Juarez, the Mexican vision of a Mexican republic, and how it's going to be better than the United States. It's going to lead, no slavery, all sorts of things. And this is San Diego, of course. This is the Benito Juarez Park in San Diego, which is right behind the courthouse, the federal courthouse. And it's a good way to end the class. Our class has been about political aspirations, and not aspirations that are merely about economics and public policy and things like that, but about goodness, about California being something in the world that aspires to something that leads the world to being something better. And Cesar Chavez definitely fits into that mold. With all of these people, there's always complications in their lives. They're humans. But Chavez is someone that you should take real care to keep an eye on him. And when you teach Chavez, and all of you will, to your children, there's Chavez boulevards in pretty much every city in California. There's Chavez Ravine up there where the Dodgers are, and I think that's Cesar Chavez. So, Chavez is all around us. And as you have your children, as you have your friends, as you drive around the state, as you teach in classrooms, you should think about how best to be inspired by Chavez, and that California, if it means anything, should mean more than simply another state in the nation. There really is a sort of California dreaming to this class and to the truth of this place. So we'll get together more about getting this class done. And yes, think about this thing. Talk among your friends. Hang out. Yes, bye.